inside of your body. It's feeling it. It's connecting with it. It's falling in love with that highest version of yourself. Did you feel that? Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. So we have a surprise. That's all I'm going to say because I don't want to give anything away, but we have a surprise. Take a look. Maybe I didn't give him enough time. Oops.
One of the world's leading experts in brain performance and accelerated learning.
Expert on optimal brain performance.
Boy with a broken brain.
Is the founder of Kwik Learning.
Get ready to upgrade your brain with Jim Kwik.
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 Kwik Learning. Jim.
Jim is a brain expert.
World's leading memory coach and New York Times bestselling author Jim Kwik.
Brain genius Jim Kwik.
Jim the Brain Kwik.
This is a young boy who, when he was 5 years old, had a traumatic brain injury and spent the next 15, 16 years
On learning quickly.
Instead of simply accepting defeat, he set about making up for his shortcomings through an obscene amount of hard work.
Jim's book, Limitless, is a phenomenal bestseller.
His hyper-effective techniques have been sought out by the likes of Virgin,
Google, the United States Air Force,
Nike, Zappos,
Marriott,
NBA,
SpaceX,
21st Century Fox,
Harvard, and Singularity University.
Mr. Jim Kwik is in this house.
Jim Kwik, everybody!
Thank you. So I woke up this morning in Maui in Hawaii, and I find myself here. Maybe we co-manifested it together. I was listening online, and I really miss the Mind Valley tribe. Aren't they doing an incredible job? And I want you to ponder a question, that I was thinking about backstage as I was listening. Maybe a question to help you integrate this and really unlock. And the question is, what part of me, you, right? What part of me is still negotiating limitations? Ooh. Just maybe you can meditate on it for a few seconds. What part of me, as you listen to everything today and tomorrow, where do you find that resistance? What part of me is still negotiating with limitations? What I want to share with you in the time that I have with you is a quick tool to, Kwik is really my last name, really to, what if tomorrow's goals, tomorrow's dreams, what if you could make them feel like they were yesterday's memories, right? I'm a memory coach, and I'm going to show you how to utilize the power of your memory to amplify your manifestation. What if tomorrow's dreams, your deepest dreams, desires, your goals, what if they could feel like they were as real as yesterday's memories? Now, you've tried a lot of things. How many of you read all the books? You do vision boards? You have affirmations? But you also still, at some level, feel stuck after all of that. And, if you know my story, my origin, there's been times in my life, especially in the beginning, where I felt stuck. And Limitless is not about, if you read my book, Limitless, it's not about being perfect. It's about advancing and progressing beyond what you currently believe is possible. But the truth that a lot of people don't want to talk about is that growth can be hard, right? Like, I don't know how you're explaining to your friends and family where you are at this moment. But growth, like, life is difficult for one of two reasons. Either you're leaving your comfort zone, right, into the unknown, trying something new, or life is difficult because you're staying in your comfort zone, right? And growth can be hard. Change can definitely be scary. But I feel that nothing is as hard and scary as being stuck somewhere that you just don't belong. Yeah? And so, you know, many of you know, like, how I started on this path. You know, I've been teaching now, I'm going to be 52. I'm going to be teaching now for 33 years. And it wasn't always easy, right? And everyone's always fighting battles that no one knows about. My parents immigrated to the US, didn't have any money. We lived in the back of a laundromat that my mom worked at. You know, I had my brain injury when I was 5 years old. And as a learning expert, it's hard to talk about. Like, I had focus issues, I had memory issues. I had migraines every day when I was 5 years old. I just thought it was normal. But how many of you believe that with struggle comes strength? Yes? Like, I don't know one strong person that had an easy life. And with challenge comes change, right? And this power, as we're on this quest to realize and reveal our fullest potentials, there's adversity. But adversity could be an advantage, for sure, right? I remember, because I couldn't read for a few years, like all the other kids, because of my traumatic brain injury, it really had an effect on my self-worth, my self-confidence, my self-esteem. I mean, I never wanted to be called on in class. I would literally shrink so I wouldn't be bullied or get the teacher's attention, right? I didn't want to take up a lot of space. I was very fearful of public speaking. My two biggest challenges growing up were learning and public speaking. And, you know, life has a sense of humor, because what do? I just public speak on this thing called learning all the time. Can they fix my countdown timer? It's stuck. I just want to make sure I'm good back there. And so I remember when I was 9 years old, many of you know this, I was slowing down the class. My nickname back then was Jim Slow. Kids could be very, very harsh. I was being teased very harshly one day because I just didn't understand the lessons. And the teacher would have to repeat herself over and over again in front of the whole class. So it was very embarrassing. And because I was being teased, the teacher came to my defense. She pointed to me in front of the whole class and said, "Leave that kid alone. That's the boy with the broken brain." And that label became it turns out okay? But that label became my limit, if you will. Because every single time I did badly in school, I would say, oh, because I have the broken brain. Every time I was picked for sports, because I have the broken brain. And so that was my identity. And, you know, we could talk about changing our identity, because I think the actions we take are evidence that we are the person that we say we are, or that we want to be, right? And so, you know, going through this, I want to talk about how to use your brain, your memory specifically, to create your future, which is interesting, right? This idea here, the tool I'm going to share with you is a tool that so how many of you gone through Super Brain? Raise your hand. So in Super Brain, I train people how to remember facts, figures, foreign languages, give speeches without notes. If you took Super Reading, how to read faster with better comprehension, right? And I also show you how to remember your past. And that's called your episodic memory. The episodes of your life, right? The events and experiences in your past. And I want to show you how to take that and actually build your future. Because your mind doesn't know the difference between something that you're vividly imagining and remembering and something that's real, right? And so what if you could, tomorrow's goals and dreams, you could imagine like it's a memory, like that how much certainty would you have? How much confidence would you have? How much gratitude? How would you show up when that's the case? In fact, when they do fMRIs, right, brain scans on individuals, they'll see that there will be heightened levels of activity and connectivity when somebody is actually imagining what I call, so it's called episodic future remembering. Episodic future remembering. When you're remembering the future, actually 11 brain areas get activated and connected, as opposed to if someone's just remembering, then it's about 6 brain regions. So it's a huge mental upgrade, if you will, And so when you're thinking about this, where would you apply it? Like for me, very simply, many things you could be able to do is your morning routine. How many of you have a morning routine? And so for my morning routine, for example, instead of touching my phone, I would just imagine doing this tomorrow morning. Please do this. I would challenge you in the morning, before you get out of bed, do this mental time travel. Just close your eyes, and I want you to imagine you're coming back to bed, and somebody asks you, how was your day? Very common, right? And I want you to say, that was an amazing day. Crushed it today. Best day ever. And then you reverse engineer it, saying, what had to happen in order for me to feel that way? Right? And it becomes a blueprint. And I come up with 3 things personally and 3 things professionally. And that's my target. Because it's not about time management, it's more about mind management. And the most important thing is keep the most important thing the most important thing, right? So even do this. This is an experiment. You can stay sitting, but I want you to just close your eyes, take a breath, and I want you to imagine a time in the past. Imagine a time in the past. Something that happened in the past, and I want you to point in that direction. Some of you are familiar with timeline therapy. Point in that direction. Where does that feel like that memory is? Point right now. Physically point. Okay, now I want you to take a breath, and I want you to think about something in the future, something you know will happen in the future. You're gonna wake up tomorrow, you're gonna have coffee, you're gonna go fly home, and point in that direction. So and this is a gross simplification, if you connect those dots, some of you are pointing in the past, in the front, in the back, front was the future, or left was the past, right was the future. If you connect those dots, you have a timeline. So what I would do is, in the beginning, I would train my mind and put the things that I want to remember or create in that timeline in the future, right? As if it already happened. You know, one of the ways I use this when I was 9 years old, many of you know, down the street, I got a call and I flew here from New York. I got invited to speak at 20th Century Fox. And it's interesting manifestation. I end up meeting my future wife on the security line in the international airport at JFK. And that's a different story. But when I did this presentation for them, they said I did a brain training for their team. They're like, this is the best training ever. Thank you so much. And they gave me a tour of the lot, similar to this. And I saw this Wolverine poster. How many of you are superhero fans? And I said, I can't wait for that to come out. The chairman picks up the phone, and 5 minutes later, I'm in this theater like this watching the Wolverine movie that wasn't coming out for a few months, right? It was a perfect Friday afternoon. And he says, how was the movie? I was like, it's great, thank you so much. I tell him my story that I couldn't read as a kid. I learned to read by reading comic books. And my favorite comic books was Wolverine and the X-Men. Not because they were the strongest, it's just they didn't fit in, right? I felt growing up, I didn't fit in with my issues. I told him when I was 9 years old, I used to ride my bicycle around my neighborhood because I found out the X-Men school was in Westchester, New York, a suburb of New York where I lived. And that was so real, I would obsessed about it every night. And he's like, Jim, I didn't know you liked superheroes and X-Men. We're filming a new X-Men movie in Montreal. We have another 30 days of filming. Do you want to go? I was like, yeah, totally. I was like, what can I do for you? He's like, just teach the crew, cast, what you taught us, how to speed read scripts, memorize line, be focused on set. I was like, I totally do this. I get on the plane the next morning on Saturday. They call it the X-Jet. And I'm the last one there. And the entire cast of X-Men's there. And I don't see Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart. I see like Wolverine. And I'm sitting between Halle Berry and Jennifer Lawrence going to film, right? And when we're there, I got to see my superheroes come to life. And better than that, a week later, I go home, and this is the manifestation part. And there's a package waiting for me the size of a TV. I open it up, and there's this photograph. It's me and the entire cast of X-Men. And even better than that was the note, which I hope it lands. It said, Jim, thank you so much for sharing your superpowers with all of us. I know you've been looking for your superhero school ever since you were a kid. Here's your class photo. And I share this with you and the power of manifestation because I would obsess. I would see it. I would feel it. I would imagine it. And in this movie, it's about time travel. If you saw it, it's about the future. It's very apocalyptic. And Professor X sends Wolverine back in time to tell the younger Professor X what to do to save the world. And you could do that too. That's mental time travel, right? This is this episodic remembering, of the future. And what would that future self tell you right now? Like, what do you need to hear right now? Or what would you have told your 9-year-old self, right? And so you could play with time, because the bottom line is this: there's a future self that's patiently waiting, and the goal is we show up every single day until we're introduced. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Superhero! You are an X-Men. Thank you for sharing your powers with us, Jim. I love that. We can time travel, mental travel in our mind, and fall in love with that version of us and bring it to life right here, right now. Could you see it? Yeah. Could you fall in love with it? Could you feel it? Okay, I love that. All right, guys, we're going to keep moving on because we have some special stuff happening. So please, let's raise the energy a little bit and let's give a warm welcome back to Vision.